Hello, my name is Daniel Christian. I'm an AWS Certified Cloud Solutions Architect and a student with Ekascloud. In this video, I'll talk about autoscaling. Autoscaling, there are two types of scaling, scale up and scale down, and scale in and scale out. Scale up and down is the increase and decrease in the size of the instance, whereas scale in and scale out is the decrease and increase in the number of instances. There are various types of scaling. Scaling is done by the user, which is manual scaling, which is done by the user. Schedule scaling is based on day and time, and dynamic scaling is a process of automatic scaling. Let's go to the console and understand how to implement autoscaling. So I'm in my AWS console, and I will launch a Linux instance. Before I launch the instance, I'll make sure I copy the AMI ID because I'm going to need it a bit later on. So I'm going to create the instance and come back once the instance is fully launched. So my instance is up and running. The next step for me is to go to autoscaling, and the first step in autoscaling is launch configurations. Create launch configuration. Give it a name. Let's say Linux Auto Scale. AMI, we search by the AMI ID, so we paste the AMI ID which we had selected earlier, which we have launched. Instance type, we will say T2 micro, which is the instance we are using currently. Choose, and leave all of these optionals. We select the security group, which is our web access security group, and choose an existing key pair and create launch configuration. Configuration is done. We select autoscaling group, which is under the launch configuration. Create autoscaling group, give it a name, say my ASG. Launch template. So here we switch to launch configuration because that's what we've just created. Just refresh it, and here it is. We've got our Linux autoscale, and we follow through the steps. So the next is the VPC and the subnets. I'm going to select all the subnets in the VPC. Go next. Attach to a new load balancer. So basically, and I'll do a network load balancer here. My NLB, internet facing, and everything here is pretty much standard. TCP/AT. Next, yes, you create a target group over here, and then you go on to the next one. Desired capacity, I'm going to say 2. Minimum capacity, I'm going to say 2. And maximum capacity, I will select as 4. And we'll do a target tracking scaling policy. And I'm going to say scale up when the average CPU utilization is at 70. Next, next, next. And create autoscaling. And sure enough, the autoscaling is now fully functional. As you can see, there are 2 new instances running. This is my original instance, and these are 2 new instances running. I'm going to terminate this instance, and we'll see what happens. What autoscaling does is basically it would launch one more instance because it has detected this one as a failed instance or a terminated instance. 4 instances are up and running. I'm going to terminate both of them, and we will see autoscale kick in. We now have both of our instances terminated, or all the instances terminated, and we're going to wait for autoscaling to launch new instances. And here we are, we have 2 of our instances been replaced, and this is how autoscaling works. Hope this video has been helpful.